Hello there, and welcome to Know Where to Hide. I'm Brian Hyde, and today we're going to be talking about pork, specifically whether or not pork is back on the menu. Now, today we're going to zoom out and be taking a little bit broader view of this issue, starting with the national level, since right now there's intense pressure being brought on members of Congress to hurry up and, as an emergency, pass this stopgap omnibus spending bill, also known as a continuing resolution. Funny thing is, they promised us they weren't going to do this anymore, and yet here we are. It's kind of a Christmas tradition, apparently. I've got details on why it's a big deal and how we are showing at the state level how this needs to be handled at the federal level. I've got details coming up.
All reporters are biased, the Idaho Press Club are biased, all media, newspaper, radio.
To be completely blunt here, Brian, and there are plans to expand
indoctrination.
That's right.
Well, Idahoans are also concerned.
Horror shot. That line would be moving a little bit farther west.
I'm like crying.
Nobody wants to see
Dark money is influencing policy in our state.
Well, that's not how.
Once again, welcome to Know Where to Hide. I don't know about you, but when it comes to chutzpah, Congress may just take the cake. Holy cow. For an organization whose members collectively enjoy about a 22% approval rating, they're really taking some leaps with the public's trust as they haggle out passing an emergency stopgap spending bill. Look, it's supposed to be passed by tomorrow, or the government's going to shut down. By the way, do you realize the government has shut down at least 4 times just within the last probably 40 years? You know how many people died as a result of that? None, not a single one. And your wallet was a little bit safer during that time. But my point is simply this. It's a time-honored tradition. Well, we need money, we need funding. And yet when it comes to passing these continuing resolutions, this is not the same thing as an approved budget where they actually have to debate over the appropriations, what's in the budget, and where is it going and so forth. This is more like we pack everything we can into this omnibus spending bill. And I think the last one that was passed was, I want to say it was back in March. Maybe it was in September. I think actually it was in September. Forgive me. It was September, and it lasts through December 20th. And it was about 80 some pages to pass that continuing resolution. 1,550 pages for this latest one, which, by the way, went down in flames yesterday. And we'll talk a little bit about why that happened as well. But the bottom line is 1,550 pages, pass it now, do it. You don't need to think about it. You just need to do it. Does anybody really have time to read? And I'm talking members of Congress and their staff. Do they have time to really read and process what is happening and what is being proposed within that 1,550 pages of spending bill? It's the greatest way in the world to shovel tons of taxpayer money, and it's all taxpayer money, either borrowed or it's going to be paid back by the taxpayers. We're on the hook for it without being accountable for how that goes. And as you might have guessed, there are some neat goodies they put in there for themselves, which we'll get to in just a moment. But I want to start on a little more positive note in terms of, so why did this omnibus bill go down in flames yesterday? And it has everything to do with this Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE as it's called, with unelected people. They're just strictly in an advisory role. That would be people like Elon Musk. That would be people like Vivek Ramaswamy, who consulted with members of Congress. Oh, and I guess J.D. Vance actually paid a personal visit to House Speaker Mike Johnson and said, you cannot pass this. And of course, we're hearing the usual sob stories. Oh, but the military's not going to get paid. And well, gee, I guess they'll all just have to go home, right? Please, they're not going to do that. If it's that serious, Congress will come together and pass a strictly military funding bill, to keep the military operating. But they're trying to pack all of this other stuff in there. And they do this as they come up to the Christmas break. This is actually a Christmas tradition. Thomas Massey, the Kentucky congressman, called them out on this some time ago. We actually should call him Nostradamus for pointing out this is part of a Christmas tradition. They push it right up to the deadline of the representatives and senators getting ready to go home for Christmas. And then they're told, you have to pass this or we're going to keep you here working through Christmas and through the New Year's holiday. So you can't leave. We'll keep you hostage, wink, wink, unless you pass this. And it's just applying pressure. And of course, again, the sob stories of, well, we've got to pass this because, farmers need help. And, you don't hear much about the people in Western North Carolina, do you? Nope. We need to send more billions to Ukraine. We need to do this and that. But here's the thing that is really going to blow your mind. Are you ready for this? Congress has a few things that it would like as well. Wait, what? There was a 40% pay raise for Congress members in that continuing resolution. It would have increased congressional salaries from $174,000 to $243,000 per year. And I love whoever asked the question, hey, is that really an emergency? Wall Street apes talked about this and said, look, why are we paying them that much or increasing their pay for that much? Selling us out? We knew this was coming. Here's U.S. Congress members saying they need a raise, they need cost of living adjustments. They're so broke that upwards of 100 Congress members actually sleep in their office. Now, I don't doubt it's expensive in the Beltway, but remember that many members of Congress are worth hundreds of millions of dollars for insider trading that they are legally exempt from being prosecuted for engaging in it. So how do they go in there worth, with a net worth of a few $100,000 or less and come out many, many years later worth millions, if not hundreds of millions? Nancy Pelosi could probably tell us some good stories about this. But of course, they'll try to distract us. Well, that's not really the issue here. Here you have Representative Dan Goldman, who is one of the more corrupt members of Congress from New York. He's accused of rampant insider trading. Now he wants to give himself a 40% raise. But to distract you from that, he's talking about President Musk. Elon Musk has too much say in this incoming Trump administration. And can I just point this out? When is the last time you saw an incoming administration, meaning they're not even in office yet, that had the kind of sway and pull that the Trump-Vance transition team has at this point? Okay, I'm not telling you should worship the ground that they walk on. I'm just saying, look at how foreign leaders are reacting. They're coming essentially to kind of kiss Trump's ring and, to make nice. But nobody is looking to Biden or Harris as, well, now keep in mind, until January 20th, they are legitimately the president and vice president of the United States. It's like, we can finally quit pretending. It's some shadowy cabal of unaccountable people who put Joe Biden out there. His staffers knew within a year of him being installed as president that he was cognitively not up to the job, but they covered for him, and we were supposed to play along with it. Okay, we're done playing. And so the promise of change is on the horizon. And the whole DOGE approach doesn't require elected people to be the ones to make all of those decisions. In fact, this is kind of the beauty of it, is you have unelected individuals who nonetheless are in an advisory role and good at what they do, advising the elected officials. So this is one of the reasons why there's so much, disgust and heartache towards, in particular, Musk and Ramaswamy, because they're advising President Trump and his incoming team. Now, this poster on X had a picture of Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, when he called him the most dangerous man in America, using farmers and hurricane devastation to exempt members of the U.S. Congress from having to enroll in Obamacare. That was also in the continuing resolution. Giving themselves a pay raise of $70,000 a year, allowing House members protections from subpoenas by protecting their in-office communications from investigations. Boy, that would shut down any real look into Liz Cheney and those folks who were perpetuating the January 6th hoax. So if Trump's DOJ was trying to subpoena emails of a member of Congress, like Adam Schiff, for example, because of a crime, this would allow them to obliterate a subpoena. And also they included funds for at least 12 new biolabs, followed by vaccine passports, mask mandates, and lockdown protocols. This is what Congress put in that continuing resolution, meaning they're planning another COVID-19 nightmare. And then there was the Take It Down Act, which would punish people for having AI videos. And I haven't seen the Lauren Boebert, Congresswoman from Colorado. I haven't seen her AI videos. Apparently they're quite the thing, but throwing Americans in prison for exercising their First Amendment rights. But the point here is that Elon Musk killed it all, not with his political power, but with his advisory power, and more importantly, with a platform, X, that allowed people to very clearly express what was going on, to call out the baloney, and to put pressure on their Congress critters. And by the way, it looks like Idaho's congressional delegation heard that loud and clear and responded. Now, Bill Ackman says, people have expressed skepticism about how DOGE can be effective without any formal authority. But he says, I think today's events around the spending bill provide a roadmap for rapid DOGE progress. And as I share these with you, I want you to compare how they would apply at the state level, and you will likely recognize when I'm done, it's already happening at the state level. There are 3 steps here. Step one is transparency. So Vivek Ramaswamy read a bill, summarized the contents on X. The word went out from there, and people spoke out, expressing their disgust with the bill, calling out a particularly egregious waste for color on the contents. Step three, after the people have spoken, is that Congress reacts. Faced with a spending bill that people don't like, with the risk of being primaried for supporting a bill filled with pork and other waste, the bill fails to garner the needed support to pass. So with its first test case, DOGE shows how it's done. And again, I want to reiterate, this is also happening at the local level. And this is how. So imagine if all bills were required to be footnoted with references to which congressman added a provision to a bill, and then we could see where that pork comes from. That's the dastardly beauty of an omnibus bill, is so much stuff gets put in there, and there's really no accountability. There's no debate. There's no one has to defend, this is why we want to add it. They just throw it in there. And that's the way it's historically been done. There's just no cost to being behind a particularly egregious piece of pork. Well, with this change, there would be a cost to even proposing government waste. And here is the good news. This is the part that I hope you will take heart in, and that is it's happening at the state level. Now, granted, we don't have our own official DOGE, department going on here, but we have something even better, which is foundations like the Idaho Freedom Foundation, Mountain West Policy Center, or Mountain States Policy Center, and others who are doing the job of holding lawmakers accountable and basically scoring them on their work. Now, Idaho Freedom Foundation has been doing this for a long time. I think really they are the ones leading out. And some people treat this as, well, it's such an extreme and it's such a contentious thing to do. In fact, what was the term that was coined? They're conflict entrepreneurs. Nope. Just people who want to see honest government and are willing to speak up. And you don't have to be confrontational about it. Sometimes people get defensive and they throw around words like extremist and far right to try to describe anybody who would spoil their party. But if you want to see for yourself what is going on in terms of who is packing bills with pork, or who is engaging in pork-like spending at the state level, I've got some great news for you. Here it is. The 2024 Pork Report is finally here. I believe this goes live tomorrow. If you want to check it out for yourself, go to idahofreedom.org, and you will see the work of a number of very, very skilled analysts. Tip of the hat to Nicholas Kleinworth and also Parrish Miller for their hard work. There were a lot of other people who worked on this as well, but you will see for yourself the government waste, both locally and statewide, your tax dollars being used for things like police car parade floats, to funding the woke LGBT agenda, to hiring a full-time poet. Yeah, this will tell you what's going on within the state of Idaho. Again, the point being, we have our own DOGE effort that has been going on for some time. And it's a very easy thing for you to be a part of, as far as you just need to be aware. And if you're aware of places where there's waste going on, well, you have avenues by which that can be reported. Again, go to idahofreedom.org for more information, and stay close, because we'll be teaching you a little bit more as the legislative session approaches. We're just a few weeks away from it starting. And if you want to learn how the legislature operates, how to make your voice more effectively heard as a citizen, we'll teach you that in Legislature 101. You keep it right here for details. I'm Brian Hyde, and this is Nowhere to Hide.
All reporters are biased. The Idaho Press Club are biased. All media, newspaper, radio.
To be completely blunt here, Brian, and there are plans to expand
indoctrination.
That's right.
Idahoans are also concerned.
Horror shot.
That line would be moving a little bit farther west.
I'm like crying.
Nobody wants to see
Dark money is influencing policy in our state.
Well, that's not